So I'm going to talk a little bit about order fulfillment during this period of time of COVID. I'm getting a lot of calls from customers who are really struggling on fulfillment of temp labor orders right now. And I want to give you some advice and some pointers on how to combat some of the challenges and the things that you need to be very well aware of what's going on in the market today. So it is true that there is a larger amount of labor available, right? So you have this huge increase that's occurring on the unemployment line, and that potentially provides more available labor, right? In theory, it should. But there are things and factors that you need to take into consideration that are potentially creating fulfillment issues, even though there is labor available. So let's talk briefly about some of those steps and things that you should be very well aware of, and potentially how to combat some of that. So one is rate of pay, right? Rate of pay is critical during this time. You have large companies like Amazon and Walmart that are increasing their rate of pay because they're understanding a couple of factors that are affecting the labor market today, even though potentially there is more labor available at this moment. So what are those factors? Okay, so one, the new competition to employment is unemployment. So unemployment resources that have been extended potentially provide an opportunity for somebody to actually stay home and that could be motivated by several things to stay home, but you're competing now against unemployment. So unemployment benefits are now being extended quickly. They're also being extended for a longer period of time. So you have to ensure that your pay rates are exceeding the potential unemployment income that could be coming in for a candidate or an employee. Because if it's not, then an employee is incentivized to stay home. And I'll give you one of the reasons why they're incentivized. Health, right? So that's the second factor that you have to consider. So people are fearful about going to work and working within groups for the obvious, right? Because we're preaching to everybody about social distancing, yet we're asking them to work in a warehouse next to a lot of people, right? So the concern is if I go to work, I might get sick. So I'd rather stay home, collect unemployment, and avoid getting sick during this period of time. So that available labor that you believe that you might have that's available in the market may not necessarily be as available as you might think. So ensuring your pay rates are proper, or potentially increasing your pay rates, whether it be the short term or the long term, to meet the fulfillment demand is something you have to take a look at. Again, utilize the equation of if I have 1 million units that need to go out, and I'm only able to fulfill 50% of my labor needs, so that means only 500,000 pieces go out. What did I lose in income because 500,000 pieces didn't go out? Was it better for me to pay more and get those 500,000 pieces out, or the latter, right? So that's just a mathematical question. It's something that you need to look at because pay rates play a big factor in all of this. I want to mention one other thing, which is what are your onboarding requirements today? So if your onboarding requirements require this very high hurdle around background checks and drug tests, I want you to consider a couple of factors. Drug tests, it's definitely a challenge, right? Because drug testing facilities right now that are doing potentially 10-panel tests are overwhelmed with tests that are coming in from the government in regards to testing COVID. So they are really focused on testing for COVID rather than testing your employee for a drug screening. So drug screenings are taking longer for results to come back. So if that's the case, that is going to affect your fulfillment. Consider self-testing from the supplier, where the supplier is using testing kits, and maybe it's not a 10-panel. Maybe it's a smaller 5-panel. Maybe it's a swab, and you get an indication, just kind of a short snapshot indication in regards to drug testing, if that's in fact an onboarding requirement. And in regards to your background checks as well, are you creating hurdles within your background check that potentially is delaying your ability to get your positions fulfilled during this period of time? Remember, if you're listening to this note, you're probably in manufacturing, in distribution, in supply chain, which requires speed, expedience, the need for labor in an immediate fashion. So if you're trying to get labor in an immediate fashion, you have to ensure that the hurdles that you're putting in front of you are lower, okay? So rate of pay, take a look at your rate of pay. Make sure that you're incentivizing people to come to work, ensuring that you're creating a health and safe environment, a healthy environment at your location. Make sure there's cleanliness, that you're preaching social distancing, so that you're creating an environment where people feel safe, and they're also now communicating that to your potential future candidates to say, no, this location is great. They're really good at cleanliness. They're deep cleaning all the time. It's safe to come to work here. So, and number 3, what are your onboarding requirements? Are your hurdles too high? So drug testing, is that going to create a problem for you? I want you to think about that. Background checks, is that going to create a problem? I want you to think about that. I'll continue to give you some updates on what I'm identifying as opportunities as well, and what our clients are telling us. But consider those factors if you want to ensure that your fulfillment is getting better, especially during this really difficult period of time. Good luck.